Welcome back to part 2 of the Aviation 400 unboxing. So in my previous video, I did run out of time, and I took it as far as I could. So I'm trying to pick up where I left off. So as you can see here, this is the Lufthansa A320, I'm sorry, not 320, A380 from Aviation 400. And we were just getting ready to show this off and do its 360 and all that good stuff. And I have put the removable gear in to show it as if it was on the ground, and of course it has the option of having it gear up, and you can have it on the stand looking like it's flying, or whatever you want to do with that. So that is a really neat feature. I had mentioned, and I left it in the other video, that the 3D beacon lights that Aviation 400 is famous for so there are two on top of the fuselage. That is right. So there they are. Oh, let's see. That might be too close. Alright, so there we go. It finally focused. So those two are right up there. And normally on other Aviation 400 releases, there's only room for one on the top. So they have one on top and they have one on the bottom. Well, this one, where the beacon light is supposed to be on the bottom of the fuselage, it's just painted on. So that was a little bit disappointing. But let me scroll out a little bit here. Alright, so we'll do our little 360 deal like I usually do, and I think I usually go counterclockwise. We're also going to do a little bit of comparison today. I have 3 different manufacturers in mine, and technically there's 4, even though there's only really 3 that are producing models with their molds. But I do not possess any Phoenix model A380s, partly because even though until Aviation 400 put out theirs, shape-wise it's better than the Gemini Jets / JC Wings mold. However, because it's kind of hollow, it doesn't sit on the nose gear correctly. I don't think that's always the case, but everything I've seen shows it not sitting on its nose gear. So I don't like that, and so I have not purchased any A380s from Phoenix. Now, as you can kind of see in the background there, I do have an Emirates A380, which is the Gemini Jets one. I broke down and got one since that was the first just normal livery that we had gotten. So I got it even though it was on pretty much inferior A380 mold. I mean, it doesn't look horrible, but certainly I will point out the things about that one that isn't that great. So we did the 360 on this. Let's we'll also do our little up close and personal shots here. All right. So there's the nose. I'll turn it a little bit so you can see the shape of the nose a little bit better. Cockpit windows seem to be placed in a better spot than some other ones that I've gotten and seen. All right. Moving down the starboard side, our nice, very Euro white A380. Got your engines there. And the nice tall tail. Quite tall, actually. Need to actually move out a little bit to get the whole thing in the frame. There we go. So it looks really nice. The APU, take a look. I'd say a fairly nicely detailed APU there. You get a good look at that. All right, and then there's also an angle I want to show. So I'm doing all sorts of stuff with my camera here, bear with me. All right, moving on down. All right, let's move out a little bit. So this, I want to highlight the wing shape, because I think Aviation 400 did really good job with this. I may even need to move down a little bit more. Alright, so kind of looking up at it, so you can see there near the wing root, you can see how it slopes down nicely, and it starts to slope up, and they have a little bit of the droop at the end there, where you can imagine how heavy those wings probably are. And how far out they go, they're going to droop a little bit down at the end. So the wing root shape is really nice. With maybe it could be a little bit better droop, but compared to the other molds that I have, this is pretty much the best one. All right, and so one other thing, I heard, I think it was Yesterday Airline commented on this. So let's get down even a little bit lower. So we're looking at, I'm looking at the gear here. Alright, so another thing to point out, and I made sure I looked at some pictures online that had some slight different angles when looking, that have pictures of the main gear. So Let's see if I can find a decent pointer here. So in the pictures online, as far as I can tell, this first tire on the bogies that have 3, this tire is almost directly behind this rear tire on the bogie that has 2. So this gap is not extremely realistic. I mean, it's not that noticeable, but it's not extremely realistic. And because these, since these gears, you can actually take them off. This gear that we're looking at right now, this 3 bogey gear, I could actually put that on the other side, but then that gap is even wider. So there is a correct, this would be the correct positioning, or the most correct positioning for the 3 axle bogies. Would be where the front tire is as close to the rear of the tire that is more wing mounted. That's kind of tricky if you don't really realize that. But this, you put them in there the way that will put the front tire as close to the back tire of the wing gear. That would be the more correct way to put them on there. So now for the kind of the comparison part, let me bring in the Gemini Jet one. Alright, so the Gemini Jet, of course, these gears are not removable. And as you can see, again, there's a fairly, the gap is about the same as it was for the Aviation 400 if you put the gear in properly. Obviously the Aviation 400, that gap would be much bigger if you don't put the gear in correctly or on the correct side. But when those gears are installed correctly, you have a similar gap as this Gemini Jets one has. So as far as the gear is concerned, the Aviation 400 is better only because you have the option of removing them and putting the plane in the gear closed configuration. However, then, so we'll turn this to get the behind end look. This is where you're going to see how Gemini Jets is inferior. Now look at the wing root. There's hardly any curvature whatsoever between the front to the back. There's not really any definition there. And as you can see, the wings pretty much go straight out. There's no droopiness at all. So again, Aviation 400 did a much better job with that than Gemini. And then I guess I didn't really get a good nose shot of the other one to compare, but most of y'all are probably aware that that nose is is just not quite right. It's just not, it's not really stubby enough. And it's a little bit too pointy, I would say. So in the case of my plane here, the cockpit windows don't look well positioned. And I wouldn't say that they don't look well positioned because the nose is wrong. I think they're just not well positioned. But other than that, I don't really have a lot of complaints on the Gemini Jets A380, but because I don't really like this aircraft all that much, I kind of want it to look, you would think I wouldn't care what it looks like if I don't really like the aircraft, but I really want to get the best representation of this aircraft when I do get one. So basically, now that I have my normal livery Emirates, don't know if we'll see it from Aviation 400 or not, but now that I have my regular Emirates, I even passed on Gemini Jets. I think it's their January releases has British Airways. I really want British Airways for this aircraft, but I'm just going to wait Aviation 400 out just because it's vastly superior, and I just don't like this aircraft enough to settle for something that's not the best. All right, so we've seen Aviation 400. We've seen Gemini Jets / JC Wings. This one, interestingly enough, is from Dragon Wings. So for all you youngins, you're probably just starting to see some secondhand market Dragon Wings out there. And so when Gemini Jets started, Dragon Wings pretty much was the big player in 1/400 scale. And basically Gemini Jets, I feel, I don't know that this is actually true, I feel like Gemini Jets at the time was just better for a couple of reasons. Their models were more detailed, and their models were all metal. Where this, the only thing on this model that is metal is the fuselage. Everything else is plastic. Everything else. So even though Gemini Jets has gone plastic on a few things since it's what I'm going to call its heyday, they are still mostly metal compared to what you would get from a Dragon Wings. So anyway, so this is Korean Air, and so uniquely with this, I'm going to call it a prototype model. Basically, it does not have a registration on it. So Dragon Wings put this out without a registration number. I don't know if that means they were rushing it to market and Korean Air didn't have any yet, but they were going to get some, or I don't know what the deal is. But Dragon Wings put out some models, not just A380s, but they put out some models that did not have registrations on them, and this is one of them. Now we will take a look at this again. We'll start with the nose on this one, since that's kind of the position my camera is in. Alright, let's take a look at this nose now. Alright, so this nose, still not as stubby as the one that Aviation 400 put out, but it is, and it also is a little bit too long, but it's not as pointy as the Gemini Jets. So you can kind of see there, it's still a little bit too much dolphin looking bottlenose, if you know what I'm talking about. It's certainly not quite the same as the A320 nose. It's not that long, but it's also not particularly stubby, like I said. The cockpit windows appear to be in a decent place and also straight. So that was good. All right, let's take a look at how the wings look. So this one's going to be kind of halfway. The position, the wing position, I'm sorry, not position really, but so as you can see already, there is a little more definition in how it curves here as it curves down. So there is a little bit of definition there where there wasn't so much on the Gemini Jets. So you can see that there's some attempt to get the wing shape correct. And, oops, not that direction. However, you can also see, so the wing tips past the outboard engines, there doesn't appear to be any attempt to make that look droopy. So I would say of the three manufacturers that I have, this, as far as wing shape is concerned, I would say Dragon Wings is in second place. Gemini is definitely last for wing shape. Aviation 400 still holds true for the wing shape. And I would also say I do like the nose shape of the Dragon Wing better than the Gemini Jets. But then, so there's a very interesting thing with Dragon Wings here. And I'm not sure how well we're going to see it on the video. But take a look at these main gear. I'm still not sure that I can quite see it well enough to make a good point. But as you can tell, there's no gap. There's no gap between the front tire of what is supposed to be the 3-axle bogie and the back tire of what's supposed to be the double axle bogie. So as far as the gap is concerned, that gap is actually best on the Dragon Wings model. However, let me raise this back up so I can show you what the bottom looks like on here. Oops. Alright, I need this a little bit higher, I think. Alright. Take a look at these bogies. What is wrong with this picture? Well, what's wrong with this picture is that the 3-axle bogies are under the wing and the 2-axle bogies are under the fuselage. That is incorrect. It's supposed to be the other way. But as you can see though, the gap for the front tire to the rear tire looks much better there. But of course, if these were placed in the right place, that lineup might not be as good as it is. So Dragon, good job on lining those up, but bad job on getting your main landing gear mixed up. So as far as that's concerned, you just don't get credit for the gap since you put the main gear in the wrong spots. So the other thing, not a shout out necessarily, but another point about Dragon wings. Part of the reason Gemini Jets was able to kind of drive Dragon wings out of the market wasn't just because they were all metal. Part of the reason is, even though there's a reasonable amount of detail, Dragon wings was not big on extra details. So like there's not even an APU decal there to better define the APU, and the baggage compartments are just outline. They're just an outline. There's no definition to it. There's just an outline of where the baggage compartment would be, and nothing else. And the other interesting thing about this, Dragon wings, actually, their mold is actually a 2-piece mold. So let me see if I can, so as you can see, get my little pointer here. As you can see, this is a whole nother piece. So this is a 2-piece mold. And the Gemini and the Aviation 400 is 1 piece with the wings sticking into the main part of the fuselage. So anyway, I'm almost out of time. So I hope you enjoyed this little comparison of the 3 main manufacturers that I have of the A380. So I would definitely have to say the Aviation 400 is really a nice model, and other than Gemini Jets probably having the Emirates, they probably have a agreement with Emirates. So if you see an Emirates from any other manufacturer, it will likely not be sanctioned. So if you're into Emirates, you're probably stuck buying Gemini Jets if you want more Emirate A380s. But otherwise, I say hold on to your money, buy the Aviation 400 version, and give up on Gemini Jets and on Phoenix. And I will see y'all later whenever I can get around to making another video. Bye.